You're listening to Art Affairs, episode 101. Today I'll be talking to Lori Earley. Alright, so my name is Michael Faith, and this is Art Affairs. Art Affairs is my attempt at shining a spotlight on the many wonderful people that make up this amazing art community, featuring conversations with artists, gallerists, curators, telling their stories. You can dig through previous episodes, complete with show notes, at artaffairs.podcast.com, but the best way to stay plugged in is to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And as always, you can also connect with the show on Instagram at Art Affairs Podcast. All right, so today's guest is artist Lori Earley. Lori is most well known for her portraits of female figures in a style that is immediately recognizable. And early in her career, Lori quickly became a mainstay in the pop surrealism movement and saw a near meteoric rise in popularity. And it was just as she was hitting this peak in her career that she was diagnosed with a rare connective tissue disorder, a diagnosis that would also take her away from her beloved art career for many years. On the show, we talk about all of these things, as well as her return to painting and what she has coming up next. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Lori Earley. Lori, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, awesome. So let's dive into your background a little bit. I always like to start there. And from what I understand, you were born and raised in Westchester County, New York, specifically Rye, I believe.
Yes.
Which is like, I looked it up on Google Maps because I'd never heard of it. I believe it's like 25-ish miles north of Manhattan.
It is,
and I
yeah.
also believe it's like a coastal town, which I thought was interesting. But
yes, it's right by the beach.
And what was that area like when you were growing up? Was it like more suburban?
Oh, it was amazing. I grew up in the best place, the most fun place to grow up. Literally, I could walk down to the amusement park. That's how close I was to the amusement park. Like at the end of my street, the amusement park began. Then
wow.
I could walk to the beach because there's a beach next to the amusement park. And we could walk there. That's how close we were. And then we were close to Manhattan. So I had been hanging out there, since I was a teenager. I used to hang out in St. Mark's Place with all the punks, the people with the mohawks, the freaks, and all that stuff. And it was just a really fun time. It was a really fun time to live in the city. The danger wasn't as much as it is today, and it had always been my childhood dream to live in Manhattan ever since I first went there because of all the energy, and it's just amazing. Like there's no other place like it. And I didn't know that until I moved out of New York. I thought every place is like New York, but it's not. It's not at all. And I'm not putting any other places down. I'm just saying I'm used to being able to do anything I want to do, whenever I want to do, where I want to do it. And you don't have those options in a lot of other places. So yeah. I grew up kind of spoiled in that fact, I guess.
Also a very variety of experiences. You're kind of a little bit outside of the city, but you had the beach available to you. You were right down the street from, I think it's called Playland Park, an amusement park.
Yes, Playland, yeah.
And super close to this art mecca, New York.
Yeah.
I guess, did you spend a lot of time, I guess, first at that amusement park? I imagine as a kid, you probably spent all summer there.
All summer. And then they had fireworks every Wednesday night for about 2 months when the park was open, and they would be right above our house. So I used to go on my roof and just chill out like this and watch the fireworks. And it was a very, very, very big part of my life. And I didn't know that it made such an impact on me until much later on in life. because like the first interview I did, they asked me if I was influenced by it, but I was so young at the time. It was the only interview I'd ever done too, that I was like, not really. But later on in my work, it started creeping in. I'm like, oh my God, I was very heavily influenced by that, you know? So these are the things that you learn as you get older and stuff.
Yeah.
You start to understand things.
Yeah, and it's
more.
impossible for something that's so rooted in your upbringing to not have an impact on you, you know? Even if it's subtle.
Exactly.
Or what kind of work did your parents do? Anything artistic?
No. They're the most unartistic people in the world. Like my dad was a police officer, a police lieutenant, and my mom was an administrative, I can never say that word, assistant. And so she did secretarial work, and they didn't even know I was talented until I was probably 18 or 19 when somebody had to tell them. And it was my high school guidance
Really?
counselor. Yeah.
Wow.
So she filled out all these grants for me, unknowingst to me, or however you say that. And I got all these scholarships into these colleges, and I never applied for them. She applied for me.
Wow.
And my parents didn't know about scholarships either. So I was lucky enough to accumulate a lot of scholarships, and that's how I was able to go to school.
Wow, that's amazing. And I guess, so like without that being something that your parents really pushed you towards, how did you become interested in making art? Like what sparked your creative fire, I guess?
We don't know. I started doing it instinctually, like at like 2, I think, literally as soon as I was taught to hold a pencil in my hand, I started just drawing.
Wow.
And I would draw obsessively, literally every day. I would sit in front of the TV, but not watch the TV, just draw in front of the TV and not even knowing what's on the TV as I was drawing, because I was so into what I was doing.
Yeah.
But and it's weird because I never had any outside influences. My parents weren't that cultured, so they never took me to art museums, or I never saw any other art. Nothing.
Wow.
So it was weird how it happened. It just happened innately, I guess. You know?
Wow, that's really cool. I guess,
Yeah.
So at the point where your guidance counselors submitted all these applications to colleges and you got all these grants, and that you kind of recognized this is like a viable path for me to go down, was it something that your parents supported? Were they like, comfortable with you going down that road?
Yeah, but they didn't, and they still don't understand what I do. And that kind of makes me really sad, because like here I am, I'll do what I think is one of my best pieces, and I'll be all excited about it, and I'll be like, hey, look at this, like, do you like it? And they'll be like, oh, it's nice. Like, and they're saying that in a nice way, in a loving way, but you can tell that they don't understand art, and that's what makes me sad the most, that they don't understand what I do. Like when I have my shows, a lot of my fans come up to them and they kind of give them insight as to what it's about or things like that if they don't understand. So they developed a little bit of an appreciation, like from going to my shows, from speaking to my fans and all that stuff. So I think they understand it a little bit more, but I don't think they'll ever understand it.
I mean, it's nice that they come to your shows and they're supportive in the way that they can, you know?
Yeah, well, they do support me. They just don't understand what I do. So if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, for sure. And so ultimately you went to the School of Visual Arts there in New York. And I've had a number of folks on that went there. And
really?
Even one that teaches there still today. And I guess what brought you to SVA specifically? What attracted you to that school?
Well, it's funny because I had a full-time scholarship at Rhode Island School of Design. So they wanted, and that was like at the time, I think it still is the top art college in the entire country. But when I went there, like I visited the campus and it didn't vibe with me. I'm very intuitive. So it's just I was getting an awkward feeling, so I went with that. And I can't tell you what it was based off of, why it happened, but I said I don't want to. This is not the place I belong. But then when we went to the city, like I said, I love New York City, like all the smells and like the inspiration and the people watching and all that stuff. It's so inspiring. It's like it's where you should be if you're an artist, because you need that constant I call it eye food. Like you need to be constantly like looking into, look at people's faces, watching them walk by, like seeing how they interact. I'm all about, capturing people on canvas and like, doing portraits of them and things like that. So when I went to the city and I went to School of Visual Arts, even though it didn't look half as pretty as RISD did, I said, this is where I belong. I belong in New York City. I knew that ever since I stepped foot there when I was 5, I think.
Yeah, and I could see where if you're drawing inspiration from people, and people are like a big source of inspiration for you, having residents in such a densely populated city makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Very densely populated,
yeah. And so your focus while you were there was painting, unsurprisingly. Was there any other types of art that you were considering while you were trying to, get your start in your college career?
No, it was just painting. My teacher, Stephen Assel, I mean, to me, he's the best living painter to this day. And I would just, while all the other kids would, go around the live model and paint from the live model, I would sit behind him, and because he would paint with us. So I sat behind him and I watched him paint instead of me painting, because I wanted to paint like him. So I know that must have looked a little weird to the other students, but that's actually how I taught myself to paint, was to literally watch him while the other kids were working. I tried to do both, I obviously have to do my sketching and stuff, but yeah, I just loved watching him work, and I miss that. He's amazing, yeah. But I always knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to paint like the old masters and paint. It was oil paint and maybe graphite, because I was used to that, because I used to grow up like drawing with graphite pencils. My parents didn't really give me that many things, because they, like I said, they didn't know I was talented. So I just had pencils and whatever I had. So I primarily do pencil work and just paintings right now. So
awesome. And I mean, it certainly seemed like you thrived while you were there. You ended up graduating as valedictorian, from what I understand, which is incredible. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
I guess looking back and thinking about like today, do you feel like a formal art education like you had is something that's still important to an artist's career in 2026?
The old way? Doing it the old way?
I mean, you called it that. I didn't, but yeah. Yeah, going to college and like getting a degree, and, do you still think that is valuable to do in this generation of artists?
Yes, I totally do. Like, I know that there's new stuff that's been invented and new types of art that's been invented, but overall, you need those anatomy classes that you don't want to take in art college. You need to know what's under the body structure, the bones, ligaments, tendons, muscles. You need to know where they all, what they're all called, where they all connect into. Because if you don't learn those fundamental things, then you won't be able to paint or draw somebody or something and have it look real or natural. You know what I mean? And then we just like painted and drew from live models, and as boring and tedious as that was, it does, like, you understand the body even more. So you have to understand the body from the inside out and the outside in. So that should never change. Even if you do AI stuff, you should understand the anatomy of the body, if you want to
Oof.
portray it.
AI stuff. That's a whole other.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. That's a whole other
dark
can
cloud
of worms.
just
Yeah,
came
dark
over.
cloud. Oh my God. But I'm just saying, like, even those programs, though, they need, like, if it's an AI program, they need to understand the body structure too, and how it moves in space and time with the light and all that stuff. So either way, you have to know how the body works.
And I guess coming out of school, having the experience that you had, I believe that you stayed in New York. You know, obviously you said earlier how much you love that city and how big of an inspiration it is for you. Had it also just kind of become home to you at that point? Did you feel like you'd settled in and you'd made a home for yourself there?
Yeah, well, I was born and raised not too far from New York City. And so since I was a kid, I was going there to hang out, like all the time. And when I had to leave because I had an undiagnosed condition called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. And my body was getting worse and I didn't know why, because I take very good care of myself. And I almost died at one point. So the doctors intervened and they said, she's too sick to live alone. So I had to pack up all my stuff and get treatment here at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, because they're the only people in the whole country at the time that treated Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So that's why I'm in Florida right now. I do miss New York tremendously. But I'm really thankful that they were able to get my health back, and they put me on a physical routine therapy program, and it just got me back to painting and drawing. And so now I had to have like 10 corrective surgeries.
Wow.
And I just had the last of them last year. So I just announced to everybody that I'm ready to return to the art world.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and I want to dive into all of those things like way more deeply.
Okay.
So we'll come back to some of that. I think the one question I have, I guess, for you now is, as you were coming out of college, did you dive, and you stayed in New York, that was your home now, did you dive just straight into your art practice, or were you doing other kinds of work first as you kind of got your feet under you to pay the bills?
I was doing the worst I was doing romance novels. And it's like, it's funny. The funny part about it is that not only did I hate doing them, but they were the highest. I was doing book illustrations to start off after college, just for quick money, and they were the highest paying of the book illustrations. That's the only reason why I did it. But it's funny because I was so not into it. And I can't fake it when like I paint something. Like my emotions will come out no matter what they are. So when I would like the painting would be good, but they'll be like, oh, they don't really look like they're in love, or there's not enough passion in it, or so. It's very dark. I got that too. Even doing children's books, they would say to me, they're very dark. I don't understand. There's something dark about them. So they always pick that up. So it's like, I can't do this SHIT anymore. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your podcast.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, because I swear a lot. Hey, I'm from New York, so I'm trying to like tone it down here in Florida, but it's hard.
Yeah. So while you were working on the commercial illustration and the book cover, or the publishing job, what mediums were you working in? Were you still working in oil and doing like paintings? Okay.
Yeah, all oil paintings. But I managed to, on the side, with every time I had left, I was putting it towards my portfolio for my fine arts. So it took me a while, and I sent them. I had some nerve. I don't know how I did this, but I read that you had to to approach the really high-end galleries. First of all, you can't just approach a high-end gallery and be like, oh, hey, can I have a show here, or can I be in a show? You can't do that. It's not ever heard of. It's not a good thing to do. So I researched all the high-end galleries in New York City, and without an appointment, I went one day, and I went in all of them, and I showed them my portfolios. And you know what? A lot of them turned me down. And you know what I did? I took those sheets that turned me down, and I pinned them to my wall, and I said,
Wow.
God damn it, I'm going to try harder, because I believed in myself, So I believed in my art. I knew that I had something different. I don't know why or what, but I just knew it was different. So one of my friends said there's this book called, magazine called Juxtapose, and I didn't know about it. And he said that there's this whole scene, and your art would fit in perfectly. So then I sent my stuff to Juxtapose, and they put me on the cover.
Nice.
Like, I didn't even exhibit anywhere at that point. I didn't even have my business set up at that point. I didn't have a website or anything. And Kirsten Anderson from Rock LaRue in Seattle, she owns that gallery. She was the one who discovered me. And I'm forever grateful to her for that. She saw a little tiny image. This was actually before the book cover of Juxtapose. There's a little tiny image of my work. I think it was in Juxtapose magazine from a show or something. And she saw it, and she was immediately gave me my first solo show. So I'm very grateful to her. And Jamie O'Shea is the one that put me on the cover. So thanks,
Nice.
Jamie.
Yeah, Kirsten's amazing. She's been on the show
is.
previously. She's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so did you find it difficult to make time to do your personal work while you were also doing this commercial work as your day job? Was that hard?
Oh yeah, it was impossible. And I was married at the time too, so I was doing all the housework, all the bills, all I was working just as many hours as my husband, and then on top of that I was doing this portfolio. It was just the busiest time of my life, but it was all worth it at the end. So
yeah. Are there lessons that you learned from, as much as you didn't like the commercial work, were there any lessons that you took away from it that you then later, even if it wasn't
it's practice.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, I think of it as practice. As much as I hated it, I think I needed those years to just make my skill, polish my skill more. So I don't think it was a complete waste of time.
And so at what point were you able to have that confidence to give that work up? Because I can imagine it's kind of stressful a little bit to have all of your financial burden laying on your personal art practice. So at what point were you okay, I think I'm in a good enough spot, I can give up this commercial work and not have to do that anymore?
That's a good question. It was never like that. It was more like a really slow, gradual thing.
Okay.
It wasn't like a decision where, I could stop illustration. It wasn't like that. I was still illustrating a little bit as I started my fine art career. And then when I was on the cover of Juxtapose, it just took off. So at that point, then I was able to start thinking about, okay, let's stop this book cover stuff, because I am not into it. My heart was not into it. And you know what? An artist or not, if your heart is not into something that you're painting or drawing, if you're not doing it from your heart and for yourself, other artists and people who aren't even other artists can pick up on that, and they won't like it, but you can do the ugliest drawing in the world, but if it's from the heart, people will like it,
Yeah, for sure. And there's something about it when you're invested in the idea and you have a passion for it. It definitely shows through.
It does. It always shows through. And it amazes me. It even shows through the people who don't understand art. That's the thing that amazes me.
So speaking of your unique style, I did want to dive into a little bit more about your style and the themes that you work in with your work. And your main focus historically have been portraits of feminine figures.
Right.
You've always had this kind of strong focus on women throughout your career. And I guess what do you think that is? What is it about, your upbringing or maybe your background as an artist that's been your primary focus?
Well, in the beginning, the reason why I only painted women is because, and this is not in a conceited way, because I don't have a conceited bone in my body, but I'm just I am a woman, and I guess I express myself through my art. So for me to paint a man, I'd have to feel like the thing that I'm painting. And if it's like a sad woman or a mad woman or a happy woman, I don't know, like, but that is like a vessel of me. So my
Mm.
models and who I paint, they're kind of vessels of like self-biographical paintings, I guess. But I have painted men recently. I just started painted some men, but those are more like commissioned work. But when I paint from like my life and my life experiences, which I do paint from, like I don't have any outside sources that inspire me. They're all just how I express myself. So when I do paintings and everything, that's just me expressing my life and what I'm going through at the time. So that's why I think that they're mostly women based.
That makes sense. And so I guess in that respect, these figures represent like different aspects of your own self and your own like lived experience.
Yes, because my art is about, it's not about anything else except for my life and my life experiences. Like the inspiration comes from the inside out as opposed to the outside in. If
For
that made
sure.
sense.
Yeah. I guess as you're creating work, do you find it helpful for you to build a larger story around the person, or is that not relevant because it is kind of just a different version of you?
Well, if I know the person I'm painting, then it's about them. Like if I personally know them, then I it has to be about them because I know them and I want to bring out their characteristics or their personality, because I do consider myself like a portrait painter for the most part. Um but like if it's something that I went through and I experienced and I want to put it on canvas, a lot of people say, why don't you just photograph yourself? But it's like, I've been looking at myself in the mirror for God knows how long. The last thing I want to do is like paint myself and look at myself even more. I'm sick of my face. So what I do is I get other people, other models, and they kind of represent me. They're there to represent like what I want to portray or what the painting's going to be about. And if it's about me, then yes, I'll use them as, I call them vessels of me, what I'm going through, if that answered your question.
It does. Yeah, that's super helpful. And I guess thinking about what the audience of your work receives, is it important for you that they receive it in the same way that you're imagining it, like that they're reading the story that you're trying to tell?
They can read it however they want. It's up to interpretation. I can explain what it means to them, but sometimes that ruins it because some people think, oh, this is about this, and they love that it's about that, but it's not. And then they find out it's not about that, and they're like, oh, I hate it now. So like, I just let them like, whatever they like and whatever they get from it. That's another reason why I used to not talk about my work, because I think that everybody has their own interpretation of the work, and sometimes in situations it's better to leave it like that.
That makes sense. I've also read that throughout your career that music has served as a big source of inspiration for you. And seemingly that all started back when your dad, who was in a band and loved music, would like get you into listening to his favorite bands on his stereo. So like I guess what role has music played for you in inspiring the work that you've created?
Oh my God, 100%. Like I love music. Like, I hate saying this. Should not be saying this, but I'm honest, and who cares? I'm honest. I love music more than art. Okay, there, I said it. I love art too, but I love music. It's my number one passion. And I come from two very musical backgrounds. We have musicians on both sides of my family. My dad was a lead singer, and so yeah, it has inspired me. My dad, like you said, he used to put me in front of, like, he was a big musician, so he used to put me in front of the sweet spot of the living room and play like all these and point out the instruments to me. So like I had this immense appreciation of music since I was a kid. I knew what the bass guitars sounded like, and he would tell me what this instrument was, what this instrument was. So, I would say like at the very beginning of my career, I was mostly inspired by old Cure, not the new Cure stuff, but old Cure stuff. So I would listen. I have a condition called synesthesia, and what it is, have you heard of it?
Yeah, one of our previous guests talked about that a little bit.
Oh, really?
Long time
Some
ago,
artists
several
have
years
it.
ago. Yeah. She explained the whole thing to me. That's the first time I've ever heard of.
Okay. Well, it's rare, but a lot of artists have it, and I can see music in my head, and I always thought that was normal. I thought everyone else could too. I wasn't diagnosed with synesthesia still until like 10 years ago, but um, when I listened to those old Cure albums, they looked like how I wanted to paint. Like they just inspired me because I love the way they look in my head. I know that sounds weird to a normal person who doesn't have synesthesia, but that's the way music influences me because I could see it in my head.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I guess, what are you listening to right now? What's on your stereo?
Oh my God. I wrote like some lists here because I actually had a concussion not too long ago and I'm suffering from post-traumatic concussion. So
I'm
that's why my
sorry.
short-term memory, no, it's okay. I'm having fun. It's just that's why my short-term memory is bad. I still listen to Dark Wave. That's my favorite. Like The Cure, Depeche Mode, Sisters of Mercy. That'll always be my favorite. But I also like, some new stuff. I love, Billie Eilish, of course. But my favorites are like, Depeche Mode, The Smiths. I like Rammstein. I actually taught myself German just to listen to
Really?
Rammstein. Yeah, just to sing along with them.
Amazing.
So that's what I've been listening to. It's nothing like totally new, but I just love the old alternative.
Big Depeche Mode fan here. I've always
Yes.
appreciated their work.
Well, you have really good taste then.
Thank you. I've also read that like fashion has been a big inspiration for you as well, including the works of like Christian Dior and Alexander McQueen. I guess how do you think about fashion within the context of your work? Does fashion play a role? Is it a character in the work that you make?
Yeah, it does because when you are creating an image, you want to make sure that that image is the best image of that image that you're going to create. So you have to make sure you have the right clothes, the right style hair. Everything has to be like in perfect unity with each other when you're creating it because that's what makes like a really great piece. So, and I see fashion as a type of art. Like some fashion is a type of art, and I like to incorporate that in my work. And I love Alexander McQueen. I'm mad that he's not around anymore, and I'm very sad about it, but he was way ahead of his time in what he did and stuff.
Yeah, fashion as an
It's amazing.
experience almost,
It is. I went to his show, I think it was at the Met in 2012, and it was one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. It was just unbelievable.
That's amazing. When you're starting on a new piece or a new body of work, how do you generally arrive at your ideas for new works? Do you have any kind of brainstorming activities, or do you have a daily sketch routine? Like, how do you foster new ideas?
I never sketch. Never. I haven't sketched in probably 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And I'm probably the only artist I know that I've ever met that never sketches. I don't know why. But I will do a sketch. Like if I have an idea, I'll do like just the first sketch before the photo shoot to see what it should look like. Then I do the photo shoot. Then I do another sketch from the photo I picked from the photo shoot, which becomes the drawing. I transfer that onto the board, and then I do several, like at least 4 paintings over that. Like I paint in layers. So it's a long process.
Wow. So I guess going
Yeah.
into a photo shoot, because I read that you do photo shoots with models, with live models. Going into the photo shoot, if you've already done like a preliminary sketch, does that mean you already have an idea of what kind of poses that you want when you go into the shoot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of the first sketches, because you have this idea of what you want. But the ironic thing is that every time you have a photo shoot, it never ends up looking like the sketch because you know, like that's when the inspiration happens, is during the photo shoot.
Okay.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
because then they can come up with things that are even better than you sketched, and you're like, oh, that looks even better than what I sketched. So that's to me is one of the most part of the jobs, is the photo shoot, because you have complete control, complete freedom. You can ask them how you want them to pose and everything, and then you start getting inspiration from their poses and everything else.
Yeah, and from what I understand, you're also a skilled photographer. So like so it's almost like your work is this collaboration between your ability to paint and your photographer's eye.
Yes.
And those things are kind of merging together into what becomes the ultimate painting, which I think is interesting.
Yes.
I guess, how much does it evolve at the point where you start painting on it? Is it pretty locked in at the point where you start the painting, or is it still evolve even further?
No, it's pretty locked in, because once I pick the photo that I want to work from, I do a very, very like accurate draw. I make sure everything is in proportion and accurate and everything before I transfer onto the board. And then at that point, I put my reference right next to me, the photo, and then the drawing is pretty much locked in, because I do an underpainting using burnt underpaint, so that then it dries, so that I could paint over it. And if I make a mistake, I could just wipe it and have that line there underneath to show me where I was, supposed to go. So that's what I do with that.
Awesome. I guess, at what point do your backgrounds come into the composition? Is it something you have figured out early on, or is it come in later and the figure is the most important thing in the early stages?
I think it all comes together in in my head first. Before the very first sketch, like I'll have like this really clear image of what I want. It's usually really clear in my head, and then I'll sketch it on the paper, and then I do the rest of the process. But it's pretty much locked down on, I would say, in my head, in that sketch. Like the premise of it and the idea of it is locked down. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Shifting gears a bit, I want to come back to what we were talking about before in your diagnosis. I believe it was in 2010.
Yeah.
Really, like right after this like skyrocketing of your career, you were suddenly diagnosed with a rare connective tissue disorder.
Yay me! Yay to go!
I guess, how did you come to find that you were suffering from this condition? How did it first?
Oh man, long story short, very long story short. I was in excruciating pain, because you're born. It's a genetic condition. It's not autoimmune. It's a genetic condition you're born with. So you are born with this. So you are in pain every single day of your life, but you don't know that that's not normal because you're a kid, right? So I went through my pain. I went through every day of my life in pain and stuff. And then all of a sudden, at the height of my career, I was under contract with this gallery, and I could not like do the work in time. Like there's one time where I was working 7 days a week, 12 to 16-hour days for like
Wow.
5 to 6 months at one time, like trying to finish this huge painting. And my body just kept breaking down more and more and more on me. And I kept going to the doctors, and they would be like, oh, you're too young and pretty to be sick. They weren't taking me, or they thought I was a drug addict because I was in so much pain. So I went through that for about 10 years. In the middle of those 10 years, or more, actually more than 10 years, I had been doing the research this whole time onto like what I can have. Finally, I came across this rare disease website, and I just knew it right away. I'm like, oh, I found out what I have. I knew, because I knew something was wrong with me and the doctors didn't. So they didn't think so. So then I went to 3 geneticists, the top geneticists in New York City, to have them confirm it, because I couldn't believe it, because this thing is so rare, that what I have,
Wow.
that I was like, you know what? Like, let me just go to 2 other more geneticists just to get it verified. So sure enough, I was right. But if I didn't catch that on time, not to be morbid or anything, but I think I would not be here talking to you right
Wow.
now. Yeah. So there's a doctor that saved my life.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's verging on malpractice the way that they dismissed you in the
Yeah.
early days of
Yeah,
that.
we could have sued them,
That's wild.
but yeah, it
Um,
is.
with it being a genetic condition, is it something that your family had a history of?
Yeah, but it's a recessive gene, so nobody in my family right now has it, but that means somebody somewhere in the past has had it.
Okay.
So we don't know though, but I was the lucky one that got it.
And so I guess, what about the condition if you're okay, like, talking a little bit about it,
Yeah, sure.
what about the condition made it hard for you to paint? Like, what limited your
Oh
ability
my
to do
God.
painting?
Everything. I mean, it's a connective tissue disorder, which means, your entire body, like the collagen is the glue. It's like, quote, the glue that holds your body together, holds your skin together, holds your ligaments, your tendons, everything. It's like the little package that holds everything together. So when you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, your DNA it has a faulty gene in it, and what it does is it weakens that connective tissue. So you can have ruptures, tears, hernias. Um, Sometimes, like, I can't, like, depending on my shoulder, if I have like tendonitis, I can't lift my shoulder up that much. So there's so many ways it could affect your body. I mean, it could affect any and every part of your body at any time, at any different severity. So it's a pain in the butt, I'll tell you that. And it makes it very, very hard to work. But I tough through it, because I was raised by an Irish police lieutenant and an Italian mother. So I am pretty tough.
Yeah.
I am pretty tough.
And so at some point, after the diagnosis and you discovered, like, what actually this was, how long before you had to just stop creating work entirely? Like, I think for a while you just put your practice aside.
Oh my God. I don't even remember how long it was. It had to have been at least 10 years that I didn't do anything, because they were busy. I was getting corrective surgeries. I was getting more corrective surgeries. Then I was getting a stabilization program from the Mayo Clinic at the same time. So it took like it was a long, boring, tedious process, but it took like at least 10 years, I would say. At least.
Yeah. I
At
mean, looking at your
least.
CV, just trying to connect these timelines together, I know that there was work in 2014 for your opera gallery show, The Devil's Pantomime, which was an enormous body of work, like 34 pieces. So, like, were
Thanks.
you just, like, struggling through this condition while
Oh,
working on
yeah.
that show?
Hell yes. Hell yes. I was I did most of that show. I would say I did 90% of that show in bed.
Oh, wow.
I did the Frida Kahlo thing. I was recovering from surgery, because that was around the time that I was having some of my first surgeries. But I still, like, if I'm not creating, like, I'll go insane. Like, my brain doesn't know what to do with myself when I'm not creating. So, I had to. That's why the drawings got smaller. It was all health related issues. It was all because of my health. The drawings got smaller. I started doing more drawings because they were easier for me to do than the paintings. Because the paintings, you have to, like, stand up and you have to, get your paint and everything. Drawings, you could just get a drawing board and just draw in bed. So that's how that happened.
And you mentioned the Mayo Clinic, and that led to you moving to Florida. I guess they have a special like physical therapy program, from what I understand, that's been really helpful for you. How did you first get involved in that program and like discover them as potential saviors, I guess?
They were saviors. Um, I think I found out about it through, it was Ehlers-Danlos.com. I think it was their website. Um, and plus I'm on the Facebook pages. You know what? I think I got my information from these doctors that were good at the Mayo Clinic on the Facebook pages, because they have a lot of Ehlers-Danlos Facebook. That was like, because we're so rare. We're like another creature, for God's sake. So we're the only ones that can help each other, you know. So I go on there, and that's where I learn most of my stuff. I'm pretty sure, actually, now that I think about it, was from there.
And so after all of that, and like you said, 10 years ish of being away from your craft, you've announced that you're coming back and that you've returned to your practice, which is amazing. Like,
Thanks.
how did you get to the point where you were able to start creating again?
Lot of hard work. Like I said, I had my last surgery of however many surgeries that was. And I got to a point where, like, internally, I was like, I know I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I know I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm just gonna fight through this, because I can't just sit here the rest of my life and do nothing. Like, no matter how painful it is, like, the physical pain is better than the mental pain that I would experience if I wasn't able to create anymore. If that makes sense.
So it's not that you just don't have pain, it's that you've kind of accepted that that's going to be how it is and you're just powering through it.
Yeah, because like I said, it's different when you're born with pain already, and when you're in pain 24/7 your entire life, your pain tolerance is so much lower than the average person. So even though you're still in a lot of pain, you can work through it, as opposed to somebody who's not used to that level.
Yeah. I guess as you've started back into, your creative practice, do you feel like you've been able to pick things back up and just fully dive right in, or has it been a gradual, like, reestablishing your routines and getting back into that like headspace again?
It's gradual. It's a lot slower than I thought it was going to be. Like, right after I announced my return, then I was in the ER the week later. I'm like, oh,
no.
shit. Oh, no. But then I was like, you know what? F this. I'm going to get through this. This is just a setback. This doesn't mean I'm getting sick again. This is just a setback. I'm still returning to the art world, come hell or high water, because that's where I belong. That's where I need to be. And I refuse to let this goddamn condition stop me from doing anything.
Yeah. Are there lessons that you've learned from like coming out of this, as far as just like being a bit easier on yourself and like not setting too high expectations? And when you need to take a break, you need to take a break,
Yeah, I learned all those things. And that was tough for me, let me tell you, because I'm the most motivated person. I won all the competitions in school. Like, I'm that kind of person. I'm very competitive. And I used to push myself to the point where it's dangerous, where I could have killed myself. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna set my timer, and I'm only gonna paint for an hour, not like 8 hours in a row and ruin my arms. So I set timers. I get up and stretch, and I have to listen to my body. Like, if I'm too tired to work, then I won't. But that kills me, because I'm not a stay in bed, watch TV kind of person.
Yeah.
But I do think that I'm stable enough. This is the most stable I've been in like a long time, so that I am just, everything seems to be, fixed, leveled.
Excellent.
I'm good to start coming back.
Awesome. So earlier we talked about how all of the figures that are present in your work are just aspects of your own lived experience. And so this is a pretty big lived experience that you've kind of gone through.
Yeah.
So I guess, are you seeing that making its way into your work also?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I've been through hell and back, and I have a lot to say about it. So we shall see what's going to come out of all this. I don't know. But the only thing that bothers me is that there's a lot of paintings that I want to do that are conceptual, but they would take a whole year to do because I paint so slow. My paintings are so detailed. So that's the only frustration. It's the only frustrating part for me. I get very frustrated thinking about that, but for the most part, I'll try to do what I can do and just wing it.
Well, with that in mind, let's talk about what you have coming up. Like, what have you been focused on lately as you've kind of started ramping back up? And do you have anything coming up that you'd want to talk about over the next year?
Sure. Yes, this is going to be an amazing show from what I've heard. It's on June 26th of this year. It's at the Mary Karnowski Gallery in Los Angeles. And it's going to be like all the women who shaped the language of the pop surrealism movement. So like me and, Tara McPherson, maybe she's going to be in the show. And I think Liz McGrath, Natalia Fabia, I think is in it. I didn't get the whole list yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's called Heretic Beauty, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That's amazing. And when is that?
It's June 26th.
June 26th
of this
awesome.
year. Yeah, so it's going to be my first show since I announced my comeback, and I'm excited about it. There's going to be one painting in it and one drawing in it.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be flying out for the opening?
I hope so, if I'm well enough. Yeah, I have no one to go with, but I'll just do it alone if I have to.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be you'll have plenty of people to. I mean, all of these artists are amazing, and so having that kind of community to be a part of.
I used to know all of them. Like when I used to live in New York and stuff, we were all in all the shows together. And since my illness, I haven't seen anyone. I miss everybody.
Yeah. I guess thinking about a little bit further out, do you think you'll try to work towards a solo show at some point?
I don't know if I'm capable, unless it's a small solo show, because the solo shows I used to do, they were very, huge paintings, at least 34 inches by 24 inches, which was an average size. Actually, they went bigger than that. So if I was to do a solo show, it would have to be all smaller work just because of my health limitations right now. Because I did a 6 foot by 5 foot painting once,
Wow.
and it nearly killed me.
Yeah, that's huge.
All by myself. No work, no help, no nothing. So.
Totally makes sense. I did also see on Instagram where you were starting to take commissions also. Is that still something that you're open to if people are interested?
Yeah, because right now is a good time for me. I mean, the commission window is very it's not that big of a window, but when it does come in, I let people know, otherwise I'm usually, my paintings take so long to make and everything.
I guess if somebody was interested in a commission, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Just through email. It's info@laurieearley.com. And that's my main email, so they could and it goes to me directly. So, they could just ask. I've done a couple of commissions already, which is kind of strange. It's kind of strange, the people who ask, what they ask you to paint. It's kind of strange. But
well, it's also a totally different dynamic just based on what you described earlier, how your personal driven work is more about yourself. Now, thinking about a piece that is disconnected from you and how to even relate to that in the same way.
Right. It was kind of it reminded me of when I was doing illustration.
Yeah.
I'm so not connected to this piece.
Right.
It's a girl holding a kitten. And I'm I'm too macabre for this shit.
So where can people find you online these days? Is it Instagram? Is that the best place for them to kind of engage with your work?
Well, my main website is just LoriEarley.com. Now, one thing I want to differentiate is because everyone thinks it's Lorie, and then my last name is Earley, Arley, but it's actually Lori, Lori, Earley, EARLEY.com. So that's my main website. And then my Facebook is just, it's just the / Lori Earley Art. That my Facebook, my IG is / Lori Earley or at Lori Earley. And the Ehlers-Danlos, I wanted to mention that too. Mm-hmm. It's www.ehlersdanlos.com. If you'd like to make a donation or anything, we'd really appreciate it. And I also have a YouTube channel, which is at Lori Earley -333.
Amazing. I'll include links to all of those things in the show notes. So if anybody's visiting the page or seeing it on Spotify or anything like that, they'll see those links there.
That'd be great. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So one last question, and this is something that I'd like to ask everybody. Who is one artist that you'd like to see me have on the show?
Oh, that's a great question. Dead or alive?
Oh, well, I can't have them on the show if they're dead, so I guess...
No, I meant like if it was a fantasy or something.
Yeah, I guess it's like somebody that I could realistically like ask and invite on the show.
Well, I think he's still alive. His name's Odd Nerdrum. I think he's from Norway, and he is what his first name says. He's very odd. And I would love to, I don't even think he speaks English, but like, he is just the weirdest artist and the most like amazing artist at the same time. Like, he doesn't dress like he's from this period. He dresses like he's from like BC or something. He wears all these robes and stuff, and he's just a very strange guy.
Amazing.
So, I don't know. Yeah, you should look up his work. Oh, and David Lynch. Yeah.
Those are a couple challenges that you've given me, but I will do my best. So I thank you. Okay. Lori, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today. This has been a lot of fun.
Welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. It was fun, and I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was going to be.
See, I told you it was going to be totally a breeze.
Yeah, it was. It was awesome. I had fun.
So that's it for this episode of Art Affairs. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Lori. It was really interesting to hear about her experience getting diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos and having to navigate that. It's really tragic the way that her doctors were so dismissive of her pain and, told her that there was ultimately nothing wrong when there clearly was. And it wasn't really until she went through the hard work of researching her condition that she found the right kind of help and a group of doctors in an institution at the Mayo Clinic that was equipped to help her through it. It was really heartbreaking to hear about how she just kind of powered through the pain all of those years, and especially during that huge show that she created in 2014, literally creating work from her bed because she was in too much pain to work from anywhere else. It certainly cast a whole new light on the works, knowing that that's what she was going through while making it. And now, more than 10 years after having to step away from her craft to work through all of this, including having a number of corrective surgeries, she's feeling better and ready to get back to work, but also doing it in a way that's a bit kinder on herself and where she's listening to her body more as she's reestablishing her practice. And your next opportunity to see her work in a gallery setting is coming up in June with a new show at KP Projects, formerly known as Mary Karnowski Gallery, celebrating the women who were so central to the rise of the pop surrealism movement. Opening on June 26, it'll feature a new painting and drawing from Lori, alongside works from other notable figures from the movement, such as Tara McPherson, Liz McGrath, and Natalia Fabia. Keep an eye on Lori's and the gallery's social media to stay up to date on the latest for that show. Beyond that, Lori's also taking on new commissions. So if you'd like to work with her directly on a new commission piece, you can email her at info@lorieearley.com. So thanks again to Lori for joining me today, and thank you for checking out the show. I'm truly grateful for your support. As always, you can contact me through my website at artafairspodcast.com or on Instagram at artafairspodcast. So until next time, be good to yourself and be good to each other.